freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 351 of Gun Freedom Radio, where we engage, we educate, and we inform. We are brought to you by azfirearmsauctions.com, where you set the price on guns, ammo, and accessories. I am one of your hosts, Cheryl Todd.
And I'm the other guy, Dan Todd. Our theme today is Virginia Election Alert, and our guest is Philip Van Cleave. Philip has been the president of the Virginia Citizens Defense League since 2001 and is an award-winning grassroots activist. Philip served as a reserve deputy sheriff in Texas for 7 years and is an NRA instructor. Philip Van Cleave believes that the right to keep and bear arms as a fundamental human right and is an unabashed supporter who has fought for the right to keep and bear arms for many years in Virginia and across the United States. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me on. I was looking forward to this.
Absolutely. I can't believe it's been this long. And this is the first time I believe we've had you on. And I'm even a member of the VCDL all the way from the state of Arizona.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. So we're calling today's show an election alert for the state of Virginia, because there are some really major seats to be voted on in just a couple of days. We're sitting in the studio on Tuesday, October 26th of 2021. The election is just around the corner. And this is a very consequential election where multiple seats are up for vote. Please talk to us about what those seats are and why this is so important.
Okay, and yeah, November 2nd is the election. It's a week from today, so this is really close. By the way, you can vote in person up until through the 30th, which is Saturday. We suggest you do that. Vote early and vote. And let's talk about what's for grabs. Major things. I don't think I've talked to anybody in Virginia who has not felt that, what's going on here. It feels like we're on a ship headed towards the rocks, about to be smashed into the rocks. But we have a chance to actually turn this whole ship around and actually set an example for the country. The whole country's in trouble. And I think a lot of eyes are cast here as a prediction for what's going to happen next year when most of the other states have their elections. And what's up is we're going to elect our governor, our lieutenant governor, which is a very important position right now because our Senate is almost deadlocked. So a tie vote's broken by the lieutenant governor, and our current lieutenant governor has always broken the tie in the wrong direction.
Yes.
Let's sail harder into the rocks. Let's do that. So that's been his go. And then the attorney general. Attorney generals, help protect, fight for the state laws and do things with. They're the lawyer for the state, and ours has been Herring has been horrible. He is absolutely he just does whatever he politically feels is right, not by the state law, but whether he supports it or not. It's a sad situation for him. So then those are very, very key positions, and we've really learned that over the last 8 years with the Democrats. Anti-gun Democrats in control. We've learned just how much damage a governor can do and how much damage a lieutenant governor can do by voting wrong, and the attorney general by ignoring Virginia law or enforcing only what he kind of likes. So the other thing that's up is the entire House of Delegates in the General Assembly. Our Senate isn't up for 2 more years. That's almost at a dead tie. The Democrats have a 1-vote lead, In the House, which is entirely up for grabs, they have a 5-vote lead. So just 6-vote switch, and then the House will completely change over to Republican. We'll get a new speaker. The one we've got now is terrible. Here's the interesting thing. 2 years ago, when the House was up earlier, 40 seats did not have a Republican challenger. So these, Virginia governors were horrified at this. Wait, you mean tell me 40 of these seats, they don't even have to run against somebody? They can take all their money and give it to other, Democrats. Ow, yeah. And they got a new chairman for the Republican Party here, and he promised that wouldn't happen again. And he kept his promise. There are 100 delegates running, Republicans running for 100 seats. So what I've been telling people is, if you've lived in Northern Virginia in areas where there was nobody good to vote for, they were all horrible. It's always the same person. There was nobody running against them even, or it was just two bad people. You now have a real chance to go out and vote. You can now actually put your vote somewhere, and you can vote for somebody you could maybe better stand behind than you could the person that's representing you now. So this is a big deal. If the House flips and you get a good attorney general, governor, and lieutenant governor, then we just have the Senate. And in there are about 4 Democrats that don't always vote bad on guns. They've come through on a few things. They're not as good of a vote as the Republicans in the Senate, but these guys will come through at various times. It only takes getting one or two of them right now, and only one if the election goes well to switch. And then we can start to, again, actually get some laws on a good governor's desk, hopefully, and start. I mean, our goal right off the bat, and I guess we'll talk that in more detail, start reversing some of the bad stuff that's been done.
Boy, absolutely. And we are going to take a deep dive into that. So just to clarify, I've got a screen up on my laptop here to help me understand about the voting. And, so many things have changed with the ways that we vote and when we can vote and how we can vote just over the last few years. And so I do think that it's worth taking a moment to just kind of break it down. You mentioned that the last day of in-person early voting is Saturday, October 30th at 5 p.m. But what's the difference between in-person early voting and just showing up at the polls on November 2nd?
Yeah, it's a very good question. And there is an advantage to voting now. Number one, you don't know what might happen on November 2nd. That's the last day. So if you suddenly have to get called into work at some strange hours, if somebody gets sick in your family, if another COVID thing breaks out, oh no, we've got to shut down and slow down the public and all this stuff because we can't have meetings. So that could all happen. But there's another thing. People have showed up to vote and they were told, whoops, we show you've already voted. And now you got a problem, especially if it's the last day that you can vote. By voting early, you make sure somebody can't fraudulently get in and steal your vote. When they show up, they're told, sorry, the vote's already been taken. So, yeah.
But I just stole it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, if you're dead, you can still vote. No.
Oh my gosh.
One party seems to support that.
So crazy. So there's really just 2 days there, October 31st and November 1st, that there would be no voting at all,
Right.
that you could vote in person early up to the 30th and then show up, or show up, not and then show up, because we're about voting once, right?
Yes, we are. The other thing you could do an absentee vote through the mail. And they're allowing that up to November 2nd if it's postmarked by November 2nd. So we won't really know results till the end of the week because they'll give those coming in. But we don't recommend that. We recommend show up in person. All you do is you go to your registrar. Each locality has a registrar. You show up there and you vote in person. My wife and I did it weeks ago. And it was quick and easy and really nothing to it, just like normal voting.
It's so crazy that in this era that we're living in, there are more conveniences, more ways to get around. And now is when we seem to be having a crisis of, you're locking people out of the vote and you're not giving us enough days to vote and all of that. And yet look back in history, people by buggy would get to where they needed to go on the day that they needed to get there.
They do it.
It's just crazy to me.
Well,
We are.
I was going to say that McAuliffe, the Democrat, had actually said that he said, call me crazy, but it should be easier to vote than it is to buy a gun. And we ran with that. So we now call him Crazy Terry McAuliffe because he wanted to be called crazy.
Yes.
He begged us to do it because he said, I think it should be easier to vote than buy a gun. So we put together an ad showing all the stuff you've got to go through to buy a gun and then what you got to go through to vote. And even then you can do it through the mail. So I want to be able to buy a gun through the mail. Point is, he set a standard that I like. We need to make buying a gun easier than voting.
Yes.
That's absolutely what we need to do.
I like it.
Yeah,
And, he is full of verbal gaffes. I don't know what it is about him and the guy that's sitting behind the Oval in the Oval Office right now.
Well, I have a message for all the Democrats in Virginia. Those of you that don't like the way the state's going, still be a Democrat, but vote Republican.
Yeah.
Don't tell your friends, because obviously you guys need change. You see that the rocks are coming and you need to stir the boat. And if you don't change the way you vote, you're going to hit the rocks.
You're going to hit the rocks.
Right.
I mean, if the Democrat could quietly vote Republican, and then that would send a message to their party, and maybe their party would straighten up and stop doing some of this stuff so they could get their voters back.
Absolutely.
For one thing, gun rights is a civil right. And of course, that civil right's been stripped from minorities forever. And that's why we have gun control in America. It all started to strip minorities of their civil rights. And both parties should be fighting tooth and nail to see who can better protect and support all of our civil rights, including gun rights. And it's a shame that the Democrats have drawn that line to where there's a complete distinction. If you look at the voting record in Virginia, and we color code it by party, like in the House, it was entirely red from the top as you went down in the order of how good people voted. And there was one Democrat floating in that. And then it ended red. Everything below it was blue, and there was a huge gap. And in the Senate, there was no blue floating up where the red is. The worst Republican was way better than the best Democrat in the Senate. That's crazy. That when I first got in, we were supporting Democrats and Republicans. If you're pro-gun, that's all we cared about. And for a while, you had your blue dog Democrats, and they were strong on guns. They just had different philosophies on other things. But now they phased all them out. If you're too mild, they primary you in the Democrat Party and kick you out and get somebody in on the far left that believes in gun control and all the other stuff.
Well, the Democrats need to think it's not just about guns right now. It's about schools.
Yes, it is.
Your governor right now wants to control who goes to school, how they go to school. I think that they're trying to get rid of the charter schools there, and a lot of things.
I haven't even heard that, but I do know that there's a quote by your current governor who's running again, Terry McAuliffe, that basically says parents have no say. Parents have no say about what goes on in school. So you turn your kid over in the morning. We're going to do whatever we want with their little developing brains.
Tell that to a Democrat and see what they say. Tell that to them.
By the way, it's not the governor we have now. We have Northam now. McAuliffe was the governor before. In Virginia, which kind of like a governor cannot run for 2 consecutive terms. So like Northam, he's out no matter what. His 4 years are up. Oh, Northam.
I misspoke. Thank you for correcting that.
Mr. Blackface. You probably remember that.
Yeah.
Thing about him.
I do.
He admits it was him. Then he says, well, no, I'm not so sure if that was me or if I was the other guy dressed up like the Ku Klux Klan guy or who I was. I still don't think he knows who he is, but anyhow.
No, he doesn't. Thank you for correcting
the guy that's running for governor is the one that's telling the people that we have no business knowing what controlling our kids.
McAuliffe is the one that
government knows what's best
all over his tongue.
Absolutely. And then the man that he's up against, Glenn Youngkin, from what I understand, early on, the Democrat side thought, oh, this is cute. This is no contest. We've got this in the bag. Absolutely. And that is not where we're currently standing.
Oh, no, it's not at all. right now it is absolutely a dead heat. Sometimes, Youngkin might be up a little and McCall, but this was not the way it was supposed to come down for the Democrats. I think they're sitting there with their mouths hanging open, and I'm surprised it's even close. It shouldn't be, but it is close according to the polls.
Absolutely.
And Youngkin, for whatever for his own reasons, I guess he's trying to appeal more to the middle as well, trying to get some of the suburban women on board. He's really not done any surveys. He hasn't done our survey, didn't do the NRA survey. The problem with that is our political action committee cannot endorse anybody who does not do the survey. We want to know exactly what you plan to do in the future. And so that doesn't mean that Youngkin's a bad guy, but it just means that the PAC couldn't get behind him and say, yeah, everybody, but we did get behind the Lieutenant Governor and Attorney General, who both turned in surveys.
Okay, well, that's good to know. So you've got a couple of solid candidates that you feel like, okay, they're going to support what we're about, which is the Second
I'm not
Amendment.
saying, and we don't know about Youngkin. He's an NRA. He said he's an NRA Life member. Whenever I've heard him talk, he's never supported anything that McAuliffe is talking about. No, he's never supported any kind of gun control when he talks. But we can't just go by that. We need more. But McAuliffe, we know what he'll do. We had him for 4 years, Cheryl, and we know exactly what he'll do. And right now he's being more quiet about guns. They're trying to shh, quiet. Let's not stir up the gun owners. We don't want the gun owners out. But months ago he was talking. He wants an assault weapon ban. He wants even more background checks. I have no idea where he thinks he's going with that. Those evil homemade guns. Can't have those and so forth. So we know where he stands without a doubt.
Absolutely.
It's not
Absolutely. Good. Well, hopefully he will not stand inside the governor's office again as governor. So we'll hope for that people are paying attention. When you see there are 100 seats, the entire House, that is, I mean, come on, voters, get involved, get educated. Don't just sit there and go, well, I've always been a Democrat. My dad was a Democrat. My grandma was a Democrat. So that means I just vote for a D. Pay attention and vote for freedom.
But they were free back then. The Democrats weren't like they are now.
That's true, but it's changed.
It's been changing over the years. And if you think about Ronald Reagan, I'm old enough to voted for Ronald Reagan. He used to be a Democrat. And this was in the 80s. He said, yeah, I used to be a Democrat, and I guess it was in the 70s. He said, but I didn't leave the party. They left me. Right. I didn't recognize them anymore. That was back then.
Could you
imagine?
If
he was alive now and he looked at what's going on,
right?
I mean, I think his teeth would have fallen out of his head. It was like unbelievable that they have gone this far against civil rights and everything.
Yes, it's
gotten away with it.
Really, we're living in bizarro land, and freedoms are being mocked. Actually, I'm hearing, even Joe Biden, the man that's the president of the United States, is mocking people for standing on principles of freedom. Our whole nation was founded on the principles of freedom, and
even
he's mocking it.
The new Superman, they don't want to have him saying "and the American way." It's like, what? How did we're the shining light on the shining city on that hill. Yes. We didn't get there by accident. There is something called the American way. It's called liberty and freedom. But you can't have one world government and have that shining light. So they're trying to turn it out. So we're all equally as miserable and as enslaved as the rest of the world.
It's such a small amount of people, though, really, when you think about it. And yet they're winning because they're getting out of their chairs and they're voting.
Yeah, and they've got a lot of money. They got billionaires throwing money. We don't have any billionaires throwing money at us. They've got Bloomberg and so forth. Yeah, and you look, when we had that 50,000 people here a couple of years ago for that round, there's no way in God's green earth, even if they took all the anti-gunners from the entire nation and bust them into Richmond, they couldn't have come close to matching those numbers.
Yeah.
And that was probably half of what they would have been, except for all the scare tactics of, oh no, we're going to have terrorists here, and there could be shootings, and we, all that stuff that went on. It was amazing, but still 50,000 people showed up.
Yeah.
So between that rally with the 50,000 people and now, we've had this craziness of what happened at the U.S. Capitol building. I think that has caused a lot of people to feel like, I just don't want to have anything to do with any kind of a public gathering or a rally or anything like that. Now I say that, and yet just yesterday, New Jersey had a massive rally and march, people standing up for their health freedoms, the freedoms over whether or not they are mandated to put something in their body. But are you guys planning for another rally? Was that what's going on with that?
Well, right now we don't have the final word on it, but we are looking at having a large rally again at a different location close to where we'll be near Richmond, and then we will also be getting people to Richmond that same day in large groups to purely lobby. We aren't going to rally in Richmond City because of some crazy ordinances they've got. That's okay. They're not going to stop us. If they think they're going to stop us, they're greatly mistaken. So we're working on, and as soon as we get a go ahead, we'll be announcing the exact details. But we could have quite a rally, another big one coming up. Yeah, we're not slowing down on that.
Fantastic. When you have dates and locations, you let me know, because I would like to get myself on a plane and get there. So
okay, I could tell you Lobby Day is going to be on the third Monday of January, which unfortunately coincides with the SHOT Show. It always does. Oh well. But yes, it's going to be on that date. But there'll be more information as to exactly where this rally is going to be. Originally, we were thinking we could do the rally maybe a week earlier and then just have pure lobbying that day. But I think we've come up with a way we'll do it all like we usually do, is have a massive rally. In fact, this could even be better because we'll be in control of who can be speaking, how long they can be speaking. We won't be on Capitol grounds where they get to dictate, well, you get exactly an hour, and if you go over, we'll cut your power off. Oh, and you can't bring your own speaker system. You can't bring your own power. It's really bad. So we're gonna ignore all that. We won't have to worry about it. Fine, we'll do it our own way. We'll see how this works out. I'm kind of excited about it, but I'm just waiting for the final go ahead from where we're having to coordinate this.
I love it. All right.
Well, maybe with your new governor, you'll be able to change some of that.
Yes. No, exactly. Exactly. Yes, sir.
Yes. That's a good enough reason right there to vote for somebody that's not actually verbally anti-gun. And that's one of the distinctions, that's a little hard. If you have somebody that is promising you they're going to trample on your Second Amendment rights, and then you have somebody else that maybe hasn't said a lot, how do you give your vote to the person who's promised you that they're going to trample on your Second Amendment rights?
Yeah. Why would you vote for somebody that's absolutely going to stab you in the back, knowing that they're going to stab you in the back? Why would you do that?
And they how did that happen? It's like the tale of the scorpion and the frog.
Right. And they take away your freedom on your guns. Now they want to take your freedom away on your choice for your kids to go to school. And that's not it. That's not the last thing they're going to do. It could be, you could lose all your freedoms if we don't wake up.
Oh yeah. Well, they're going to educate your children. Then they're going to grow up thinking, who needs guns? Who needs freedom of speech? Government will protect me. Government will give me a job. Government will be my big daddy. I will bow to government. But if you're raised that way and you don't really know what freedom is.
Right. And your freedoms are selfish, don't you know? That's what we're being told now.
We should all be sharing equally, right? And that's exactly what happened in Russia when they had their communism going. The guys at the top had dachas and all these homes and money and cars and food nobody else got. Oh yeah, we should all be equal except the guys at the top.
And you get to be free to wait in line for 8 hours for food.
Yeah.
And maybe get a doctor if they decide that your life is worth saving. They might look at you and go, well, you're 55? We can't waste time on you.
Exactly. Well,
and they won't care.
Yeah, and they won't care. So let's talk about the agenda for the next legislative session for the Virginia Citizens Defense League. What do you hope to get pushed through? What do you hope to get repealed? Maybe just kind of lay that out there for us to
I think our primary agenda, first of all, is to roll back everything the Democrats have done in the last 2 years, starting with what we call preemption. That is, we would get rid of all local gun control. Now, we've been pretty good. As you recall, right before that massive rally in Richmond in 2020, at the end of 2019, we had thousands and thousands of people showing up at local government meetings to get them to become, local government to become a Second Amendment sanctuary. 95% of the state became a sanctuary. If you look at a map, where green is a sanctuary of Virginia, it's almost entirely green. There's like little pimples every now and then of areas that didn't do that, like Albemarle County and Charlottesville and Fairfax, all the more communist areas, if you will, they didn't come on board. So out of 194 localities in the state of Virginia, and last year they changed the law, letting them do some local gun control, like in all the government buildings and parks and things like that. 15 have done it out of 194. So we've kept it down to a dull roar, but that's 15 too many. Gun laws are not, what other basic freedom do we have where if you're going, like if you're going to Albemarle, do you suddenly give up your Fourth Amendment rights? I don't think you do. But boy, when it comes Second Amendment, oh no, we can chop that all up. So now you can't just learn state law. If you're going to Albemarle, you got to find out what their local gun laws are. And if you're traveling around the state, it's a nightmare. So right now it's only 15 localities, of which a couple exempt permit holders if you have a concealed handgun permit. They just didn't like open carry. But we're just going to repeal that, get that, put it right back to where it was, and all that local gun control will go away. However, I will be magnanimous in this. I will offer free of charge to go to each locality with a pair of bolt cutters or whatever it takes, and I'll take those sign downs for free and destroy them for free. So
just out of the goodness.
Out of the goodness of my heart,
I
will
love that.
do that, and I won't be enjoying it too much.
Yeah, we have that law in Arizona. They can't, Tempe, Arizona can't put a law in about guns.
Right.
So
That's
Well,
well,
and-
we want to go after Bloomberg when we heads down your way. That's one of the first things they want to get rid of, because they know that discourages gun owners. It gives you local tyranny, because instead of here, for example, if you pass a gun control law for the state, you basically got to get half of 140 people to go along with it. It's 100 in the Senate, and 40 in the Senate, and 100 in the House. But local government, sometimes you got 3 people, 5 people. They can determine and take away your gun rights in certain areas. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, we've got Tucson here in Arizona that just really wants to be its own thing, its own entity, its own state.
Would if you gave them a chance.
Right.
They sure would.
they try, they push the limit. They do push
Very
it.
liberal,
They've
very
been
progressive.
threatened to be sued by the governor many times.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's what we have, like in Fairfax. They've been begging for this ability to do gun laws, and when they got it, boy, boom, just like that. And the funny thing is, the first one that did it was Alexandria. Their shootings went up 40% the very month that they passed it, and they've been up since then. They were actually a very quiet area.
If we could only figure out what's causing it, right? I mean, like,
what could it be?
What
could it be? It couldn't possibly be that we passed gun control.
It's those other counties. It's those other counties allowing guns to come in.
Right.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah, that's because of the easy gun. No, they can't say that because they're surrounded by Fairfax, Arlington. All those places all have the similar gun control going on there.
Absolutely.
So the other thing we want to do was quite a bit, but that's one of the key things. You know, we need to get rid of one gun a month. We need to get rid of red flag. Now, keep in mind that huge rally in 2020 allowed us to cut back a lot on what the Democrats did. Yeah, they passed gun control, but all of it was toned way down. I'll tell you what, that they looked out their windows and they saw people as far as they could see in all directions, and that caused them to back. So our red flag law is not nearly as bad as most of them are. You know, it's very restricted as to who can do it, and they have to do an investigation and get proof that you should before they even. There's a lot of stuff in there. Of course, it's all bad. It needs to go. So, red flag would need to go. One gun a month would need to go.
I say that again. Just say that, one gun a month. Sounds like a wife telling her husband you can only have one gun a month.
Yeah,
you can only buy one gun a month.
Well, I've had to tell my wife, honey, last month I bought a gun and I have to buy one again. One gun a month. It's the law in Virginia. It's actually one handgun a month. You can buy multiple rifles.
Seriously. And what? Tell me how that protects society.
You're asking me to explain gun control in a logical way?
But one gun a month.
It's
Doesn't make sense to me.
stop trafficking because people like you and me traffic guns. No, of course not. They're gonna if they took away the guns of all the good people in Virginia, the crime rate would go up. It would never go down because we're not doing anything wrong.
Wait,
But
Philip,
it's not about that, guys. It's about disarming us. It's going to be eventually about disarming you out in Arizona. You
Yeah.
cannot have communism and socialism with an armed populace.
Right.
Crime is just the excuse. In
Yeah.
fact, that's why they've been defunding the police and everything else. They want the crime to go up because if you've been looking at crime for 20 years, it's been dropping and gun sales have been going like this because every time a Democrat says, we're going to take your guns, gun sales go through the roof. They haven't figured out yet anything about psychology. So they keep driving more and more and more guns out there. At the same time, they claim to be wanting to get rid of them. But they want to get crime up to go to where people finally say, oh my God, look at all the people dying. I'll give you my guns because, the government will say, yeah, we need all your guns. So the only people that have guns are going to be the police and the bad guys. That'll be it. And that's what they're hoping for. They're driving the crime up. But of course, we know the actual crime is all happening in the poor parts of cities like it always has. It's always, it's mostly bad guys shooting bad guys. Occasionally other things happen like that, but that's the goal of this. It's not to make America safer. They don't care about that. They care about power. And you get rid of guns by scaring everybody into turning their guns over. And then the Second Amendment doesn't matter if nobody wants to use it. Well,
It's a
they
great
don't know us very well. They don't know us. Would this influence you to give up your guns? It's not going to influence me to. I'm going to buy more guns if there's a high crime rate up there.
Right. And if people would just look, you go to all the Democratic controlled cities or states, and that's where the highest crime is, where you're more restrictive.
Yes.
And yet, what do they think? I mean, I would think, okay, like California had a chance to get rid of their governor. Governor's been doing terrible things. I don't think of anything that he's done good. They had a chance to get rid of him. And what was the worst that could have happened? Having another guy come in and change things for a year. Then they could have elected one of their other people again. Why are they afraid to make a change?
Well, we're assuming that the votes were done
No, that's
correctly,
true. Yeah.
legally.
Of course they were.
On the other hand, a lot of what had been happening in America had been happening very slowly. It's the old analogy of the cooking a frog in the water, slowly turning up the temperature, and he keeps adjusting. And we do tend to do this. We're little changes. We're human. We can live everywhere on this planet where a lot of animals can't. We can adapt and utilize our brain, but it backfires if something's being done to us slowly. We just adapt to it, and pretty soon we're used to it, and we just ignore it. As opposed to when they come up and turn that heat up, which is now what's happening. When all of a sudden there were riots and they were defunding the police and there was all this stuff going on. That caused 8 million new gun owners to come on board because they said, wait a minute, you mean I can't? Now look, you and I and everybody listening to this knows that we've never counted on the police to be there to save us. That's why we have guns. It's nothing against the police. I was a deputy sheriff proudly, but they cannot be there in time. The odds of them getting there to save you in a violent attack are like winning the lottery. It happens, but I haven't won it yet. And I don't know about you guys. So I carry a gun, but there are people out there that never woke up that much. They truly thought with their little cell phone and they kind of pictured how a crime would go. Okay, well, I'll talk to him. I can talk him down. And while I am, if things aren't going well, I'll just call the police and they'll come out. They'll bring guns. I don't need guns. They'll bring them. They'll take care of it. Then suddenly they woke up and are kind of where we have been all forever and said, oh, I might not be able to call the police.
Right.
And, well, maybe guns aren't so bad after all.
Right.
8 million came on board.
Absolutely. Yes. And then nowadays, are people around you even using their smartphone to dial 911? No, they're using their smartphone to videotape the assault that is happening to you. There was a woman just, was it New Jersey? I forget where it was. It was a subway. A woman was being attacked and raped, and people got out their cell phones and filmed it. And so she had, if she had been a responsibly armed citizen and not disarmed by wrong-headed laws, or if some of these yahoos who, are filming instead of trying to help, had been armed, maybe this would have gone in a different direction.
I agree. Some people might have said, oh my God, I'm not going to go up against that guy, so I'll try to be a good witness or whatever. But that's really not a very American way either. I mean, I couldn't have stood by and
No.
let somebody be raped like that. It's like,
No.
all right, well, I guess I'll put my life on the line. But I carry a gun in Virginia, so this would go pretty well from my point of view.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely. That
so
woman would have been safer had she
absolutely.
been on a subway with you, right?
Oh yes,
Because
absolutely.
you're a
Philip, you don't-
responsibly armed citizen, and you probably carry a phone, and you're probably going to empower somebody near you to dial 911 with it, right?
Yeah, I'll let them worry about it. Well, this guy's staring down the barrel of a gun.
Exactly. He'd be frozen in his place.
I can't tell you how many times we've interviewed people that were anti-gun that became victims and changed to carrying a gun. It's unbelievable how many. And just people need to wake up and say, well, I don't want to be a victim in the first place. And you are your first responder. We got to
Yes.
remember that. Always
Yes.
you're the first responder. And what does a first responder do? Prevent the crime from going on, right?
Mhm.
So,
Absolutely.
it's just a shame that people have to wait until after they become a victim before they realize it.
Again, like I said, people have a tendency to picture, well, if I was ever attacked, you picture in your mind a scenario and you think that's how it's going to go. It's going to happen to you on a day when you least expect it.
Yep.
It could be a bright sunshiny day.
Yep.
You're completely relaxed. You open the door in a safe neighborhood and suddenly there's a knife in your throat.
Right.
It's true. That is
It happens.
absolutely
Like
true.
that. I tell our
Absolutely.
members, carry a gun at home. You
Mhm.
should have one within reach because somebody can kick your door in and be in the house with you in a few seconds. And you're
And this
either
isn't-
ready for that or
Yeah,
you're
this
not.
isn't crazy. This happens. We used to
Look.
do a segment called the Responsibly Armed Citizen Report, and we would play these news reports of these things that have happened on, like you said, it was just an ordinary day, and a lady was just got in her car, and then the next thing you know, something horrible is happening. So go ahead.
Look, I wear a seatbelt not because I'm looking forward to an accident or I expect
Thank
to be
you.
in an accident. I
Thank
carry
you.
a gun for the same reason. But if I have an
Absolutely.
accident and the seatbelt isn't on, it's not going to do
It's
me
too
any
late.
good.
It's too late.
That's
Exactly.
my analogy.
Exactly. All right, we got to start wrapping up, but I want you to tell folks two things. Really drive it home. What is at stake with this election coming up on November 2nd, 2021 in the state of Virginia? And how do folks follow the work that you're doing, get involved with the Civil Citizens Defense League there in Virginia? Go.
Okay. All right. Well, what's at stake? If Terry McAuliffe comes sweeping into the office, he has said that he wants to ban semi-automatic rifles. He said he wants to make magazines that'll hold more than 10 rounds illegal. He wants to not allow you to make homemade guns anymore, something we've been doing since this was a state or a commonwealth. All of that's out there. In fact, that will only embolden the other side. If they win this election and they come in, they've got 2 more years that they don't have to answer to anybody. And next year will be a nightmare.
Yes.
Because that will be 1 year away from the year that they then would have to run again. So that's when these parties hit the hardest. To get involved, yeah, we need everybody involved. There's not really that much asked of Americans, but you are expected to vote. You are expected to hold your politicians in line. We have to hand to the next generation what we have. It shall not die on our watch. We cannot let that happen. So VCDL, we're on social media. You can go to our website, vcdl.org, as in Virginia Citizens Defense League.org. There's also a place there you can see all the places. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. We reach out everywhere that we can. Membership is $25 a year. We don't drive you crazy like some organizations that constantly begging for money. We're very frugal, but we get a lot done. So you can join on our website. It's extremely easy. Also, the gun laws are up there. All that stuff. You can learn a ton by going up. And we're going to be running some ads all over Virginia, and it's starting tonight. There's going to be radio and TV ads. Because we've had our top 3 people like McAuliffe and stuff pushing to release criminals into society at the same time. And some of these, we got the thing documents people that were murdered and killed by these people that were let loose. At the same time, they want to disarm us. So that should be, it should all be very interesting. So, get into the fight with us. We've got 27,000 members. They're very active, and 60,000 on VA Alert. But there's 700,000 permit holders in Virginia. We're almost at 750,000. We should have 750,000 people that are in this group. If we did, there was nothing we couldn't accomplish. I couldn't even fathom what we could accomplish with that many members.
Exactly. My goodness.
Wake
and
up, people.
25 bucks
Right.
a year. Holy
to
cow.
be free.
To fight for freedom, to be a part of it. Thank you so much for all that you do, Philip Van Cleave, president of the Virginia Citizens Defense League. We so appreciate you. We'll check back in and see how the election went.
Okay. All right. Fingers crossed, guys. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed this.
Thanks.
Thank
Philip.
you.
Bye-bye.
Us too. Bye-bye now.
All right. I want to urge, Virginia is a big state and we have listeners all over the world.
Mhm.
If anyone knows anybody that lives in Virginia, call them on the phone right now
Mhm.
and tell them to vote.
Mhm.
Get up there and vote.
I'm telling you, we're talking about your governor. We're talking about your lieutenant
governor.
governor that breaks the tie on votes. We're talking about your attorney general, who is the lawyer for your state. And we are talking about 100 seats in your House of Delegates. And right now, there's a 5-vote lead. He said we just need to flip 6. 6 out of 100 would give you just that edge.
And
But
900,000
come on.
concealed carry permit holders in Virginia. If every single one of them voted, tell me that wouldn't make a difference.
It's crazy. And then on this site here that I'm looking at, there are also lots of local offices. And if we have not been woken up in the last year and a half about what mayors can do, right? City councils can do, school boards
A mayor can make you
do.
wear a mask. A mayor can make you not have your kids go to charter school. There's so much that can be done on these local level
Yes.
elections.
Yes. Get involved. Don't vote by party, because there are a lot of, ones with the big R emblazoned on their chest that really don't vote like they're a Republican. You've got to look at the person themselves, look at their record, if they have a record at all, to be able to help you determine. Vote for your rights, vote for your liberties, vote for your freedoms, because we start this show every time with Ronald Reagan saying that our freedoms are only one generation away from extinction. We don't even have a full generation now.
Right. It's tomorrow.
It's one election away from extinction.
Right. And and the Democrats, okay, there are some things that Democrats have a few good ideas. I'm not saying that Democrats are demons,
Mhm.
but when it comes down to, I know several Democrats that like guns, okay, and they love guns and they believe in the Second Amendment, but they vote Democrat because of other issues.
Mhm.
Our freedom is the most important, and to be able to defend your freedom is the most important issue that you could ever imagine, think about right now.
Absolutely.
If you're a Democrat and you want to be free, you need to vote differently.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely. And
just for
it's-
this, you can still be a Democrat. You can still push the ways that you
Right.
like, but when it comes to freedom,
And it would send a message, as Philip Van Cleave was saying, it would send a message if you don't like how far your party, like if we're talking to Democrats, how far the Democratic Party has shifted away from the core values of what the Democratic Party has traditionally, been. This sends that message to say, we don't want, communism, socialism. We don't want Marxism. That's not what we want. That's not why we became Democrats.
and if you do
or my
want it, get
grandma
your butt
became
out
a
of the United
Democrat.
States.
That's true.
If you
I
want
mean,
that.
let's look at some of the cautionary tales. We've got Australia. Holy moly, what's going on in Australia right now? And they gave up their guns because, again, there was some big, terrible event. And it was an emotional sweep that came through, and people were like, oh yeah, I don't need this gun, not thinking about the gun is the or else, right? The gun is the thing that protects you from two-legged and four-legged and no-legged predators, those snakes that go slithering through the grass.
Don't be calling Democrats snakes.
I didn't. All right, I'm going to get off my soapbox now, but
seriously,
this is an
you need to
opportunity.
listen to this because it's the truth. And if you don't think we're going to a country of less freedom, then you're not looking.
It's true. And this is an opportunity in the state of Virginia to set a new tone, to help the rest of the nation go, yeah, we're not real happy with the direction things are going. And
Turn that boat around.
we can start turning that boat around one state at a time, sending that message back up the chain that at the federal level, the stuff that's going on in those chambers, the ruinous financial bills that are being just laid out there like it's nothing, the word trillions of dollars just trips off the tongue like, oh, it's nothing.
Just print more.
It's just, it's
or
fine.
tax more.
Right. And
or do both.
And they talk about inflation like it's just a minor little blip. It's just a transitory thing. Well, we don't want poison at all, right? Like if you're making this is an analogy I've used in the past. If you're making brownies, how much poison are you willing to accept in that batter before you say, yeah, I wouldn't eat that? So if you want to look at inflation as a little bit of poison, this new spending bill is a little bit of poison. Well, how much poison are you willing to take and to eat? How about none?
Right.
How about we draw the line and we say none? How about we start paying our bills back? How about we start, actually, why are we sitting here waiting for boats that are out in the Pacific Ocean to bring us stuff? Why are we that dependent on other nations to supply us with the things that we need or feel we need? We need to be more self-sustainable in our homes, in our neighborhoods, in our cities, in our states, and in our nation.
Right.
All right. I said I was getting off the soapbox and I got back on it. All right. We need to wrap up. Thank you so much to our amazing guest.
Yes.
Philip Van Cleave. Thank you so much to our awesome listeners all over the world. Wherever there is internet, we have listeners. We value you. Your time is your most finite commodity. And when you spend it with us, we recognize it and we value that. We appreciate it. If you would like to watch any of the videos that we have produced with these subject matter experts from all manner of areas on the Second Amendment and freedom, and kind of cutting the cord between you and government, then you can go to our YouTube channel, our Gun Streamer, or the OpsLens smartphone app. If you like listening to the audio only version because you're cleaning house, or you're out on a walk or on a long drive, then go to our website, GunFreedomRadio.com, click the on demand tab, and what are they going to do, Dan?
Gonna binge listens to your heart's content, darling.
Beautifully done. And of course, share it with your friends. And when you're on, back to the YouTube and the Gun Streamer, when you're on there, please subscribe. That helps the algorithms and all that mysterious stuff. And it helps others know, the powers that be that know that this is content you want to hear, that it's valuable to you. And then click the notification button so that you get a little ding when we put up some new content. We got lots of great new content coming up. All right. What else are we going to do, Dan?
We're going to pray for our nation.
Absolutely.
Well, we're going to pray for our leaders.
Absolutely.
We're going to pray for the leaders that we don't like.
You said that awfully quiet.
Oh, my mic just kind of went bad.
Yeah. The ones that we're not so fond of, we're going to pray for them too.
We're going to pray for the ones we're going to vote out of office.
Absolutely. We're going to pray for them to find gainful employment where they're not ruining our lives. How about that?
Yeah.
Right. Maybe especially for those ones.
I know it'd probably be a pretty big financial drop for a lot of them.
That's part of the problem, isn't it?
Pelosi.
All right.
I didn't
be good
say
to
that,
each other.
Did I say Pelosi? Did I say that?
You might have. You might have.
I'll probably have to edit that out.
I think your mic went quiet again. All right. Until next time, be good to each other. Have a great week and God bless.
Bye-bye.